Welcome to the Money for Dads podcast. This is your host, Adam Katz. This podcast is for dads like you and me who want to save on everything, stretch your paycheck, and spend more time with your family. I don't want you or your spouse to be forced anymore to pick up extra shifts, take second jobs, work overtime, or sacrifice necessities just to pay your bills. I want you to be able to choose how you spend your time while giving your kids the most amazing childhoods possible. And that's why I created this podcast. If you're listening to this podcast, you've probably suffered or are suffering from money anxiety. It's the fear that you won't have enough, that you won't be able to pay your bills, that you won't be able to afford groceries, the car payment, camp for kids, birthday parties, and so on. And it's especially hard when you're responsible for supporting a family. I know I've been through my share of anxiety. It's hard, especially when it's about something that has such pervasive, wide-reaching effects and impacts your family, and that's money. I've dealt with it myself, just like everyone else does. I still worry, and that's only natural, but I wanted to overcome it and not allow it to cause me stress. So how do I deal with that? There are many methods, both for general anxiety in life, but here are some that I use to specifically help me with anxiety about money. And the methods have actually proven pretty effective for me. So there's no need to take notes here, don't worry. I've written out all these titles of these ideas in the show notes for you. And note also that I'm not a psychologist or therapist, but all I can do is advise what works for me. And here are the 7 methods that I use. 1. Get and stay excited about things. Focus on something in the future. Concrete things you know will happen soon that you're excited about. At the time of preparing the notes for this podcast, I chose to focus on future events like my son Mendel's upcoming giant 3-year-old birthday party that my wife so beautifully planned, or my mom coming to spend the weekend with us. You have only room in your head for one thing at a time. So make that something you want to think about and are excited about, and it'll push the thought about what you don't want to think about out of your head. 2. Implement methods to stretch your money. My book will be full of these, and so will future podcast episodes. But if you stretch your money, say 15%, that's like getting a 15% raise at work. So maybe that can work for you and actually solve your money problems. If not, as much as I hate to say it, you might have to pick up overtime, get a second job, or just simply reduce your expenses. Actually doing something about the problem will help alleviate the anxiety itself, because the fact that you're taking real action will help you keep going, keep you positive, and it will help you feel more in control of the situation. For me, taking action in a well-thought-out direction to improve my situation is actually stress relieving alone. 3. Budget and plan. Do this to at least get an understanding of your finances. And this will help you if maybe a lack of organization and planning is causing some amorphous blob of confusion and fear in your life about your money. So getting organized with a budget will help you stabilize yourself in both your mind and your finances. So if this is your problem, then you need to make a budget. So go get my awesome budget template, yes, it's free, from my website and get started right away. 4. Appreciate what you have. Don't focus or think about what you don't have or what others have that you don't. Think about your spouse, your kids, your friends, your home, your job, your car, anything. And the fact that you actually have those things. If you don't appreciate what you have nothing and are going nowhere, so you'll always be stressed and unhappy. Also, if you spend the time appreciating what you do have, this is where your thoughts are, not on what you don't have or on what you're worried about. Again, you don't have space in your brain for 2 thoughts at once, so do your best to make the choice to think about what you want to think about. 5. Spend time on hobbies. Do this to take your mind off what's stressing you. It's relaxing, it's cathartic, and it will help you put things into perspective. When I was little, I would sort and organize baseball cards, sometimes literally for days on end, and I loved it. Now, I start businesses to help people like Money for Dads, and I create podcasts and other resources too. For your hobbies, I'm not talking about Netflix or watching movies. Something real, because TV is not a hobby. If you can't think of what your hobby is, then ask yourself, if you had an afternoon free, what would you do? And your answer might just be your hobby. 6. Box breathing. I'll tell you what it is and who uses it in a second, but it's not just regular breathing or meditation. I do this to fall asleep at night a lot when I'm anxious about money or work, or when I'm too excited to sleep, which happens a lot, and anyone who knows me could probably guess that. I have a lot of ideas, and they keep me awake at night thinking about them, whether it's for my job at the nonprofit, Money for Dads, or other businesses I am starting. My anxiety is always job or money related, and this box breathing really helps. It's really easy, and it appealed to me because it's used by Navy SEALs, and if it works for Navy SEALs in legitimately high-stress situations, then I thought it could work for me, and I was right. Again, really easy, and it has just 4 steps, and Navy SEALs seem to do it for about 5 minutes, but sometimes I just do it for a bunch of cycles until I get distracted. Anyway, here's how you do it. First, breathe in slowly for 4 seconds. Then, hold that breath for 4 seconds. Then exhale slowly for 4 seconds. Then, hold your breath for 4 seconds. That's it, like a box. Really easy. Breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, then hold for 4. 7, and last, is know who's in charge. If you're a religious or spiritual person like me, just know that God, a higher power, a force, the universe, nature, whatever term you use, is in charge and can make anything happen at any time. Things could change in an instant, and really, that everything is for the best, whatever happens. Just do your best and always keep hoping and praying. Remember that you aren't the one who's really running the show, and that all you can do is your best. So, there you have it. Those are my 7 methods that I use on a daily basis to battle anxiety from money. I'd love to hear other ideas of yours to battle anxiety about money. So if you have an idea to share, then just go to my website, click the podcast link, and that link is also in the show notes here. And here's something new I just created for my listeners. You can now record a voice message that's sent directly to me. So rather than just type in your comments or questions, you can now, with the click of a button, record yourself. So try it now. You can share your methods to battle anxiety, or you can also just ask me a question that you'd like me to answer or address in a future podcast. I'd love to hear from you. So hopefully this podcast episode has helped you feel better about your situation and gave you some concrete tools to improve your life. Thank you so much for listening to my podcast. To help you get started on your journey to stretch your income, save on everything, and spend more time with your family, you should visit my website, moneyfordads.com, and download the Money for Dads Starter Kit for free. In the kit is the Money for Dads amazing and simple budget template, which auto-calculates everything. It's so easy to use. And you'll also get my 11 money-saving tips guaranteed to change your life. They're philosophies that I use that have helped me to stretch my family's income as much as I have. So if you like this podcast, then subscribe. And if you think that it could help somebody else, a friend of yours, share it with them. I'd love to be able to help more people. And even better, which would help get the word out even more about this podcast, give it a review and a rating. I read all reviews, and I'd love to hear how the podcast helps you. So go to your favorite podcast player, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whichever one you use, and give it a review and a rating now. The more reviews that I have, the more we can share these ideas with the world, build the Money for Dads community, and help more dads spend more time with their families. Also, if you write a review, I'll probably give it a shout out on a future podcast. Thanks again for listening, and have an awesome rest of the day.